Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. Hope you're doing well. It's a Daily Dave, randomly placed somewhere daily in your week. Hope you're doing well. And I wanted to highlight some settings that I'm using in Zoom. Yes, I'm one of those only people apparently that uses Zoom to record my podcast interviews. Oh, for shame. You're supposed to use the expensive ones, Dave, not the free ones, not the cheap ones. Yeah, anyways, we'll get over yourselves. I like Zoom because of the fact that most of the people I work with and I have on my show have never been on a podcast before. So they're not techies. They don't get all these buttons and things and all this stuff. Zoom is easy, works really well, and they've added some extra stuff in there that people don't talk about enough. So if you're back and forth on whether or not, the software they're using is the right one for you, and you're hearing people turn you away from Zoom and tell you that it's the worst choice ever, well, those people are just what I like to call wrong. I like Zoom in the sense that, again, it's so easy to use. One of the features I really like right now is all around the idea that you can record your interview with your guest, or you can record like this, just solo, using Zoom. I like to record into Audacity directly every time I record, even when I use Zoom. I'm always recording directly into Audacity because it's recording me locally. I don't need the internet for that. So I like that. But one thing I do like is, and I've been playing with this recently, I host meetups on meetup.com with our amazing podcast community, which you're more than welcome to come and join us. Howtopodcast.ca has all the information, but we host these meetups and we have great conversations. And at the end, the comments I get from participants are like, oh, I wish I had a summary of all the things we talked about. This was a great conversation. I'm like, I wonder if Zoom does that. And lo and behold, it does. So when you're signed into your Zoom account, I have the paid account because I don't like to have a hard cutoff point of 45 minutes, whatever the minimum is. That's kind of like when you have a free version of Zoom, they just chop you off. So I like to not have to worry about that. So I go with the paid version of Zoom, and I've had it for a long time. Again, I really like it. But if you go into Zoom, into your settings, you log in as you. So you should see in the top right corner your icon for whatever you are. In your version of Zoom, go over to your settings, which is on the far left-hand side at the time of recording. 5 years from now, who knows what's going to happen. But right now on Zoom, on zoom.us, on the left-hand side, you'll see your settings. Click on settings, and the first tab that you're going to see across the top, it says AI Companion. Then there's general, meeting, recording, mail and calendar, audio conferencing, Zoom, and on and on and on. We're just going to the AI Companion piece, and then I clicked on General, which is the first thing on the list. And you scroll down, there's this little thing called Meeting Summary with AI Companion. And what it says here is, as a host, you can generate a summary. Summaries are sent after the meeting has ended based on your share options. So I clicked the very first box that says, turn on meeting summary automatically when meetings start. Now, why am I doing this? We all talk about show notes, right? So when we finish the recording, now we got to sit down and remember what the heck happened in that interview. What did I talk about on my show? And what I love is Zoom, with the power of AI, ta-da, they do a summary of what's happened in the recording. And it's amazing. I really like it. If you have multiple voices, it calls out who said what and what the topics was. It actually breaks them into categories and sections and brings out key moments. It's really a great summary tool of everything that's happened in your recording. So whether you're interviewing somebody, it's you and a guest or multiple guests, or, like I said, use Zoom, turn on Zoom, set up a recording. You don't even need to use the audio and the video from the recording. Not at all. Again, set up your recording studio, your DAW. So for me, it's Audacity, free program, everybody. And I'm recording directly into Audacity. So Audacity's recording, I have Zoom up, I turn on a Zoom room, I create it, and it's just me on camera. and I do my episode. Audacity's recording, Zoom's recording, and Zoom is going to give me a summary of everything that I'm talking about on my show. It's really great. It's really, really great. So go in there to your Zoom settings, again on the left-hand side of the screen, scroll down to the bottom, near the bottom, you'll see settings, go to your AI companion, to the general tab, and then go to that part where it says Meeting Summary with AI Companion. And click that little button that says Turn on Meeting Summary automatically. And then what happens is, when the meeting's all done and Zoom is done doing its magic and behind the scenes, in comes an email to you with a complete breakdown of everything that's happened on your show. Now, it's not word for word, it's not a transcription, it's a summary. And for our podcast descriptions, show notes, however you want to call that, whatever is showing on the phone when somebody listens, this summary is a great overview of everything that's happened in the podcast and can make great summary notes for your podcast. So if you struggle with podcast summaries, if you struggle with show notes, if you struggle with all that, let Zoom do it for you. There might be a little tweaks here and there that you need to do, but it really brought out some amazing things. We called out people's names, we called out websites. It provided everything. It's a great snapshot of the conversation. So if you hate doing descriptions and you hate all that typing stuff, let the AI companion in Zoom help you. It's a great tool. Another setting that you need to know about in Zoom is splitting your tracks. Very, very important. So the whole thing around how you record your show using Zoom, some people don't do this setting, and it's very frustrating for editing your podcast if everything is on one track. That means your voice, your guest voice, the sound of a dog barking, your guest phone going off during the interview. All of those things are on one track, one line, and you can't break it out. In Zoom, you can actually change that so that you have a track for every person who speaks. So again, let's go back to the meetup I talked about. If I have 5 people in my meetup, Zoom will give me 5 separate tracks for each person, and they're lined up based on the order of who's talking. So if person number 3 starts talking halfway through, there'll be silence for that person until they come on mic, and Zoom lines them all up for us. And you can drop them right into your DAW, Audacity is what I'm using, and then do all your editing and mixing right from there. Separate tracks are super important. So again, go back to your settings on the left-hand side, and across the top, we talked about AI Companion, there's General, Meeting, and then there's Recording. Click on the Recording tab, and this is where you're going to see the settings that you need to enable to give you great separate tracks and some other great tools that are going to help you in your podcast. So for me, what I have checked off for me is to record to computer files. I allow my hosts and participants to record the meeting to a computer. I have that turned on. I have my internal meeting participants checkmark on, external checkmark on. I also have other settings. Save the chat messages from the meeting or webinar. This is really important because when you're done, like for me with my meetups, you can actually download the chat with all the links, everything that people are saying in the chat, and have a copy of it when you leave. Remind your guests, remind the people participating before they leave the Zoom room to go down and click the 3 buttons. You'll see 3 little dots, and that opens up the ability to save the chat. Very smart. So when you're in Zoom, you're logged into Zoom, it gives you like a pop-up window, which is kind of like a dashboard of what upcoming meetings are coming up, and there's some other these settings. If you go to the top corner of the screen, you'll see your little icon, and you'll see, for me, a little green dot saying I'm active right now. Apparently, you click on that, and it'll open up a new window, and you'll see your settings. So there's general, video, audio, share screen, team chat, Zoom apps, background and effects, recording. That's the one I want you to look at. And here you want to click on that, and what you're going to see is it says local recording on your screen, and it'll say store my recording at. Now here's where you can actually determine where your files go. Well, so many people reach out to me like, Dave, I recorded Zoom, I can't find the recording, where did it go? This is the path to where it goes. I love using my desktop on my computer so that everything's on my desktop. It's kind of like my to-do list, my go-to, so I don't have to go searching and hunting through all my files. So if you want to set where your recordings from Zoom goes on a local recording to your computer, this is where you do it. So you click on open or change, and you can create the path to where you want it to go. So that's very important. So for me, I have every checkbox available on the recording tab checked. So the first one that you're going to see says choose a location for the recorded files, which you talked about. The second one, here it is, record a separate audio file for each participant. You want that checked. That's the button that you haven't checked. If you get your downloads come as one audio track with everybody's on one track, separate your tracks. It's so much easier to do editing for you or your podcast editor. Check out podcasteditingandsupport.com. It's my other show. But yeah, your editor is going to love you if you can split out those tracks. That's the button you need to click. It's not always set up default settings, so you have to go in here and do this. So the second box, record a separate audio file for each participant. I also have display participant names in the recording, checked. I have optimized for third-party video editors, checked. I have added timestamp to the meeting, checked. I have record video during screen sharing, checked. And then I also have place video next to the shared screen in the recording, checked. And keep temporary recording files, checked. Also, I have at the very bottom, show notification when a new recording is available. It also gives you your cloud recording and how much space you've used in the cloud, and a manage button there as well, so you can go in and maybe get rid of something you don't need if you've recorded to the cloud. You have two options in Zoom when you record: to record to the cloud, like the mysterious cloud somewhere, or locally. I record locally through Zoom, but also I use Audacity at the very same time. So I actually have two copies of my voice into my recording software, into my DAW, Audacity, and Zoom. Zoom recordings of my voice I never use. Unless something happens to Audacity in the middle of my recording, I never use the Zoom recording of my own voice, only that of my guest. So that's why I use it. So that's really good. The other things to look at in the same screen while you're here is your profile. There's where you can update your image, your name, all that information. It shows there. It shows your statistics as well, so you can kind of see what's going on in your Zoom world. Any keyboard shortcuts, you should know about these. You can turn them on and off as well. And then the accessibility options are also there for you. So that's all of the settings within Zoom, but definitely go to the recording tab and make sure you check off all the boxes that you want for your recording. Specifically, checkbox number 2, record a separate audio file of each participant. Please turn that on. Click that button. You're going to save you so much work down the road. For you, if you're a Zoom user, I'd be curious, what are your settings like in Zoom? What do you like? And have you used the AI companion for your summary of what's happened in your show? I'd love to hear if you're using it. If you haven't tried it, and if you're like, Dave, I can't figure this out, can you please help me? Yes, go to howtopodcast.ca. There's a link right there to my calendar. Click on the link, and when you set up your calendar invite to come with me and have a chat, just put in there Zoom settings or something. And that way I know what we're going to be talking about together. I can share my screen with you, and we'll do it all on Zoom because that's what I'm using. And we'll do this together, and I'll help you to get your settings correct, especially having separate tracks for your guests. Please do that. It's going to make your life so much easier. Okay? And do it today. Let me know if you have any questions, howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for listening to the Daily Dave. More great episodes coming up with my podcasting friends from the community. And if you're ever interested and you want to come on, talk about your podcast journey, if you have one episode, if you have 1,000 episodes, or you're just starting, you just have an idea, come on as a guest. Be a guest co-host on my show so that we can talk podcasting together build you up and give you the tools you need to start your show and keep podcasting. Because we need you in podcasting. We need your show. We need your voice. Can't wait to talk to you. Reach out soon. howtopodcast.ca. Would love to talk to you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking part in another Daily Dave. More coming up. I'm glad to be here with you. Thanks for listening. Take care.